Hey everybody, Sean here, Boosted Miata, and today I got my little buddy Cooper here. Say hi, Cooper. Cooper's going to be helping me work on the car today. I got some maintenance to do to the car. I want to do a little checkup, see where things are at, so come on, let's do this. So it's been about 2,000 miles since I put in the new turbo motor, and I think it's time to just do a little checkup and see where we're at. So what I want to do is a compression check, and also I want to do a coolant check because I'm losing a little bit of coolant, and it's kind of bothering me. I've never lost coolant before, so I'm a little concerned. But since I changed my radiator, my coolant level's been going down a little bit every time I drive it, and I just had to add some, and I've never had to do that before. So I'm a little concerned about that. So I thought I'd run over to O'Reilly's and pick up one of their little coolant pressure testers and see if I can't detect any leaks in the cooling system. So yeah, that's on the menu for today. So are we going to go make this happen, bud? You got the keys? Are we ready to go? Yeah? Uh-huh.
Dad?
Yeah?
This one is far.
Well, okay. We'll go stick them in the ignition. Let's go. Come on. What are we waiting for? Let's get the show on the road, bud. Okay. Anyway, we're ready to go. So I'm going to head on out and get the parts we need and get this going on. Come on. All right, let's see what O'Reilly has to offer here. I gotta pop in and see if I can get this pressure tester. Yeah. All right, I've got the kit right here. So ready to go check it. I'm gonna drive around, make sure the engine's nice and warm for the compression check. Want to make sure it's nice and warmed up for that. But then we'll do the coolant check after that. Let's go. Got back. Now that the car is warmed up, what I want to do first is the compression check. So when you do a compression check, of course, you want to make sure your car is nice and warm. So all the metals are expanded. Those rings have an opportunity to kind of expand and seal really well in the cylinders. And then you'll get your most accurate reading when the car is warm. So for this operation, you're going to need a notepad and a pen. Where's my pen? There it is. I don't lose that. To take your notes. And then you'll need the compression checker. You need to make sure that it's a tester specifically for air and not for fuel or oil. And then you're going to need the hose, or in this case, I have a hard line, which works great because I can put this hard line right in and I can position the gauge toward my windshield and can actually view it from the driver's seat. So it's really easy to do. So the engine's really warm, so I want to work really fast, and I want to pull out all my plugs. Remove all the plugs at one time. Keep them in order. This is a good opportunity to examine your plugs too, to just see how everything looks, make sure things are okay. So yeah, I got to pull the plugs, pull the coil packs off, and get testing. Here we go. Ow. It's hot. Woo, it's hot, 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 hot. Everything's hot, which is good, but it burns. It burns. So what I do is I just lift these all straight out, pretty much like this. And lay them over like that. Get my missing screw. Hot, hot, hot. Now I'm only using this power drill to pull them out, to pull out my spark plugs because I'm in a hurry. I normally don't recommend using any power tools to remove or insert your plugs. Definitely not for inserting, but just for the sake of speed, I'm using my All right, so I got the plugs out. I'm just gonna look at them really quick with y'all. They're really hot, but so they look actually pretty good. Now, typically, instead of, let's see, they actually look pretty darn good. Now, normally you want these plugs to have more of a tannish color instead of that orangey brown that I have. The reason I have that orangey brown color is because of the octane booster I run in my fuel. I run Torco, which boosts your octane by about 10 points. So I'm running basically race fuel. So that's why these are kind of orange. I'm still going to clean them up before I put them back in, but I need to get my pressure tested before this motor cools down. So let's go. So I'm going to insert this hard line in here. And this is nice because you can hand tighten it. Get it nice and snug. That's good. Make sure your gauge is reading 0. Make sure you got a good fit. I'm going to aim it toward the driver's seat. So when you're cranking, what you want to do is you want to hold your throttle all the way down. That'll cut fuel. So if you're 100% throttle, your fuel will cut, so you won't be throwing fuel into the intake. And the idea is to crank it. It's usually going to take 6 or 7 cranks. Crank it, crank it, crank it. It gets up to where it needs to be. And then you want to crank it 1, 2, maybe 3 times past that, past the point where it stops on your gauge. You know what I mean? Anyway, you'll see. Here we go. Number 1. Throttle down, cranking. See, I'm done. Okay. So 180, I want to say 190. So that's 190 on my number 1 cylinder. That's good. That's good. All right, here we go. All right, I'm trying to do this before the engine cools down, so I want to write that down. So number 1 is 190. Here we go. Number 2. Throttle down, crank. This one looks to be 195. Yeah, so I say we're 190 or 195, maybe 192, 193, something like that. So looking good so far. All right, so I just wanted to talk about these numbers real quick. As you can see here, my lowest number is 175. So the difference between my highest and lowest is only 15 psi variance, which is pretty good. I mean, you generally don't want to see anything much above 20 or 25 psi difference. Some people want a percentage, so say 10% or 12% or 15%. So I'm well within 10% variance between these numbers, which is fine. So what do these compression numbers really tell us? Well, they tell us the general health of the motor by indicating, number 1, if there's any ring issues and you're losing compression because of that. Low compression numbers could also indicate a problem with your valves. You could have a stuck valve that needs to be replaced or unstuck. And low compression numbers can also indicate a bad head gasket. You could have a blowout in your head gasket that is causing 1 or more cylinders to lose compression and thus losing power. So this is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. So now it's on to checking my cooling system. So let me get that going right now. So this is a typical set you would get from your O'Reilly's or AutoZone or your local parts place. This is a, I don't know the brand, Tough. This is probably, a little better than what you might get at Harbor Freight, but not that much better. Anyway, it comes with various adapters. It comes with a pump that has the gauge on there for various levels of PSI. I'm going to be doing mine at 20 PSI because that's what my cap is rated at. So I want to see how I'm holding up at 20 PSI, which I don't think that's stock. I think stock on a Miata might be 14, 15, something like that. But this radiator came with a 20-pound cap, and so that's what I'm going to test for. So let's get this on here. Of course, you want to work with a cool motor. You don't want to open your motor up when it's hot, obviously. So use caution. So I got my cap off, and you can see here this cap is a 20-pound, 1.4 bar. So I want to be testing for 20 pounds. I got the adapter here, And unfortunately, these adapters, wait a minute, that doesn't feel right. That's right. There we go. A lot of these adapters, like this one, doesn't feel particularly tight because it's got a little wiggle there, which means it's really not sealing well. Crap. Alright, well, let's see. Let's give it a whirl. Alright, so you get that one on there, and then you want to put this cap on here. These are usually really hard to get on because they have to hold up to 30 pounds of pressure. So they generally are pretty tough to get on. This is to remove it. To get on, you just go clockwise. And I should be good to go right here. Except I'm really worried that's not going to seal well. For some reason, this thing is not sitting really well on this, on the neck. Okay, so what I did is I went ahead and put a bunch of gaffer's tape around this, trying to seal it up as best I can, because my experience tells me these things never really work that well. So hopefully this will help seal it up. Pretty straightforward. All you do is you take the pump and you pump it up, and you make sure that you do not exceed wherever you decide you want to test for. So in this case, I want to test in the black there, 17, 19, 20. So I want to be up to the 20 psi area and get it up to 20 psi, and then just let it sit there. And I think you're supposed to see it stay steady for at least 2 minutes or so. So let's see what happens. Alright, I'm at 20. I'm at 20 psi. I'm going to let it sit there. I'm going to start counting in my head. That's 1 minute. 60. Okay, that's 2 minutes, and it did drop a little bit. So it is dropping. Yeah, and I can hear it leaking out of here. So it is leaking out. That's what I was afraid of. That adapter isn't really tight enough. It's not airtight. So I am getting some pressure leak out of here. So it's been, right now I'm in the 19 psi range, and it's been about 3 minutes. So I pumped it up to 20 psi again, and I let it sit for a while, and I came back and I found a few leaks. This lower hose, not the lower hose, what hose is this? Yeah, it's the lower hose, lower radiator hose, where it goes into the water manifold on the block. That was leaking. You can see down there, there's a little bit of coolant. So I tightened that up. That seems to be okay right now. Then this was leaking right here, the top hose on the radiator, and it left a little puddle down here. That puddle there, ignore that. That's what I spilled earlier. But this puddle here is new, and it dripped off of here. But that seems to be holding okay. It is dropping still, but not as rapidly. So I think it's okay, but now I just want to double check where the coolant reroute is on the back of the head and make sure there's nothing dripping back here, because this would be a total pain in the butt to fix. So what I'm going to do is actually put my hand back there and feel around, see if I can feel any coolant. No, it's dry. Okay, good. Great. Alright, cool. So that's dry. Oh, I'm going to check this union over here. This is the union I put in between this S hose and this back hose. And this is fine. No leak there either. Okay. So I'm satisfied. I think I'm good. Yeah, it's going down, but it's taking its time to go down. It's not going down rapidly. So it's normal. I think it's fine. I think I'm fine. I think I just had some loose hoses, which is good, right? So it's good to check your hoses every once in a while. So that's great. Awesome. Cool, I'm gonna put this thing back together and go for a drive. Okay, I returned the thing to our good buddies at O'Reilly's, returned the tester. So now I think I'm gonna go out for a bit of a cruise right now. So I'm going to take a quick look here. I don't see anything leaking right at the moment. I see coolant down there, but that's spilled from earlier. So the two spots I'm worried about is right here on the front of the radiator at the top hose. And that does not feel wet at all. That's dry. Yeah, it's pretty dry. And then the other issue is right here. The hose here, and ow, it's very hot. It's right by the turbo, but that is dry as well. Cool. Okay, well, I think we're good. I think I fixed my coolant issues. So what now I'll do is just monitor it and see if it loses any more coolant, but I think I got this fixed. So I'm happy I did that. Whew, that was fun. Thanks a lot, guys, for watching this video. I do appreciate it. Please check back. I got more coming. I got to re-dyno this thing. It's time. It's been about 2,000 miles, and it's time to, because I've turned up the boost in this a little bit, but I don't know what I'm making horsepower-wise. So I'm going to get back up to the dyno pretty soon and see what it's making. So be sure to check that out, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care. Thanks a lot, guys, for watching my videos. I do appreciate it. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.